everyone, you can call me Bryer, and in today's video I am going to be doing a speed paint compilation of some of my drawings from this year's Mermay. So for those of you who don't know, I am actually hosting my own Mermay prompt list this year, which I'll have a link up in the corner somewhere to a video explaining more of that. Basically, I just created a Mermay prompt list with a bunch of themes themed around the 4 elements: water, earth, fire, and air. And also, if you have no idea what Mermay is, it's basically just having a prompt list for the month of May, similar to October, where you draw for a certain amount of days based on prompts that are all themed to mermaids. So I would just like to quickly apologize for the inconsistencies and posting over the last couple of months. Like, I don't know how anybody posts regularly if it's not like their job YouTube, because oh my god, that is hard. I'm sorry, but if YouTube isn't like your full-time job and you're posting regularly, how? Do you like just not get any sleep? Is like YouTube your life or what? I would love to be posting more I can't speak. I would love to be posting more consistently, but it's just difficult with school, work, other stuff going on in life, and yeah. But anyways, what you guys are seeing on screen right now is actually a real-time clip, so the rest of the video is speed paints, but I kind of like to throw in a real-time clip every once in a while in my videos just to spice it up, I guess. The prompt I'm doing right now is the very first prompt of Mermay, which is Tsunami. Okay, now we've moved on to the actual speed paint, and my whole idea for this was just I wanted her hair to be the tsunami/wave sort of thing. I know there is no actual mermaid tail, and it's literally the first prompt for Mermay, but to kind of keep that mermaid aspect, I decided to add little fin type stuff to her ears, so she still seems some sort of aquatic character. Now, basically, my entire thought process while making this was like, oh, angry fish lady who makes waves. That was pretty much it, and I still think it turned out pretty cool, but it's a very simple drawing to say the least. And you guys can't see it, but I actually just have a bunch of like references off to the side of tsunamis that I'm basically copying to kind of get an idea for the little foam bits, as I wasn't really sure how to draw that. And also at the very top of her head, I decided to kind of mimic the same highlights you see in actual hair. I don't know why, I just did. Now I'm just messing around with some final effects with like little sparkles and like, I don't know, fog clouds, just to add to the piece. Like I said, this is pretty simple, and I actually think this is the shortest video I'm gonna have in this video, just because there wasn't much to it, but I still think it turned out nice. Okay, I've got like a lot of drawings in this video, so I'm just speeding through them. So this next one is for the prompt waterfall, and I decided to kind of have this mermaid standing on a rock behind a waterfall. Like, you know how you see those waterfalls with like the caves behind them? Kind of imagine she would be behind it, if that makes any sense. I don't know, if I can find pictures explaining what I mean, I'll throw it up on the screen somewhere. As you can probably tell by just looking at the different clips throughout this video, I struggled so much with the anatomy and the pose in this one. I don't know why, but I just had such a hard time. No matter what I did, just the anatomy did not look right, so that sucked. I'm looking back at the sketch now, and I really liked the outfit I had for her, but for some reason I changed it later on. Once again, I don't know why, but I just ended up giving her this kind of like plain tube top sort of thing with a bit of like an interesting cutout. Let me start on the backgrounds, and I go like full out with some of these backgrounds, like compared to the other drawings I've done, like it's kind of intense, but I really loved specifically drawing the details on the rocks for some reason. I don't know why, but I had a lot of fun with it. I've been using a lot more textured brushes in my few drawings, like once again, I don't know why, but instead of just using basic cell shading, I've been pulling out these fancy brushes and doing a bit more blending. I also spent a lot of time trying to figure out her color palette because I just did not know what I wanted to decide on. I ended up going with this sort of more muted color palette in the end, and I had this idea for a story that maybe like she comes from some sort of clan or family where they have traditional colors that are very bland and muted. These sort of like green, blue, grayed out kind of colors, but she's like, oh, I'm going through a rebellious phase, I'm not going to be like my parents, decides to dye her hair red. I don't know where the story came from, but that's just something I had in mind. This is the final drawing. Honestly, I'm not too happy with it. It's definitely one of my least favorite out of all of the ones I've done so far, but nonetheless, I still think the background's cool, and I like the backstory behind it. Okay, drawing number 3. When I told you guys we were speeding through these, I was not lying. We are now halfway through, and this is prompt ice. For this drawing, I wanted to mess around with perspective and kind of have her at an angle where it almost looks like the viewer is looking up at her. Because I had this idea that she's like some evil queen and you're like bowing down to her and she's like, haha, I'm better than you, peasant. I don't know. Most of these drawings are very just like quick ideas because like I'm doing one every other day, so I don't have the time to be like really thinking it out and putting in detail. Anyways, this is probably one of the quickest sketches I've done. I'm honestly really surprised by it, but I spend a lot of time on the line art, which is probably because I didn't spend much time on the sketching, so I had to make up a lot of stuff while doing the line art. This is probably the most detail I've put into a tail thus far, but I basically had like this pearl outline of her tail with some like ice shards shooting out of it. I also just could not figure out how to get the chin to look right from the up angle, and honestly, some of these earlier drawings I think look a lot nicer than the final result, but oh well, you live, you learn. So I redrew her hair to have a bit more volume, and I'm so happy I did because I love the final line art much better than what I had originally gone with. I can't remember for the life of me if I already talked about this, but I also added little molds on her face because I think skin details are just the cutest. I don't know why. I have the opportunity to draw molds, freckles, anything like that, I will take it. Anyways, I've already gotten started on the background, and I just wanted to do some sort of like simple ice crystal type of stuff. I did some fancy lighting sparkles, but that was pretty much it, as I just wanted to keep the background kind of simple to mostly focus on the character. Yeah, now I'm just going through and adding in the colors, and from the start I already had a rough idea of how I wanted the colors to look. It was just a matter of ever so slightly adjusting it. Also added a slight gradient to her top just to make it more interesting than a solid color. Also, I know the anatomy is once again whack and the pose is a bit funky. I know, I'm not oblivious, I recognize that. Anyways, here's the final piece. It's not one of my favorites, but I'm still quite happy with how it turns out. I think it's super cute, I love her pose, and honestly, I want to know more about this character. Okay, we are officially halfway through the speed paints, and this next prompt is rain. I had to mess around with the angles and perspective a bit here, so I had the idea that the character would be lying on their back and you would have almost a bird's eye view of them. I have no idea if this is actually how the rain would look, but then I had this idea that the arrows would kind of be falling into the center of the screen, just in this weird like spiral kind of pattern. Now I'm moving on to the line art as I'm done with the sketch. So I wanted to make her appear more like siren-esque or more like of an underwater aquatic creature kind of thing, so I added some more fins to her and generally made her look less human-like. With this fun orange, yellow, and like cyan color palette that I honestly love so much, but I never really get to use all that often. I'm finally going through with the background, and for some reason I just really struggled with this, even though it's quite simple. I just for some reason couldn't like get it to make it look like she was actually laying on the sand opposed to just like floating above it. Yeah, I kind of had the story idea that maybe like she has some sort of like little mermaid slash Luca kind of story where she's, you know, a fish kind of person who wants to go into the land. However, the twist in her story is that everyone else that she knows, like the other mer people, can easily like go out onto the land because they can just turn into humans, but for some reason they don't have that ability, so their only way to like truly be on the land is when it's raining, so they can still have like water and moisture and whatnot. Okay everyone, we are in the home stretch. This is the second last one to go, and this is for the prompt theme crystal. Now this drawing right now is by far my favorite out of all the ones that I've done so far. Like, I don't know, I just think it turned out so freaking pretty. Oh my god. So while working on this, I was a bit tight for time, so I knew I wouldn't want to do a full body pose, so that's why I'm not doing a full body pose. Rather, I'm doing this sort of squished up pose so that you don't have all of the body, but you get to still see part of the tail. That's because there's been a few of my mermaids so far that haven't quite had tails in them, and so for this one I wanted to make sure that there was at least a bit of a tail. So to stick with the theme crystal, what I decided to do was have crystals growing out of her like she's some sort of part crystal mermaid creature. Yeah, I don't really know how to explain it, but I thought it would look cool. I'm just going over the sketches to do a more finished sketch, and oh my god, it's so pretty. I am obsessed with how the sketch was turned out, and while the finished drawing is really cool too, I think I still prefer the sketch. I'm just going through and doing some line art. Can I just say I'm obsessed with how the hair turns out? Oh my god, it's so pretty. I think it's fair to say I'm just genuinely in love with the entirety of this drawing. And for the crystals, I decided to do something based off of an amethyst, and now don't come at me, I know literally nothing about crystals, so if there's like something inaccurate, I apologize, and I didn't do it on purpose. We can finally get started on the coloring, and I don't end up going with pink for her skin. I was just using that as a quick base so that I can easily fill in the colors and then change it up later. Definitely considering the pink because it's like super pretty, but it honestly just didn't match with the purple all that well. I'm through and adding the lighting and shading for the crystals, which was a bit tedious since I didn't really know what I was doing because once again I know nothing about crystals, but it was also kind of fun at the same time. Especially for like the flatter patches of crystal, it was fun to kind of just go through and like scribble down some lighting. And for the rest of the mermaid, I ended up doing a mostly blue color palette with her skin being a darker brown and having some aspects of pink and purple on the tail. The tail pattern, I literally just grabbed some random brush in Procreate to use. Experimented a bit more with a bit of like a painterly style of shading for the hair, which I think is super cool. Anyways, we're getting pretty close to the end, just with some final lighting touches and whatnot. We have it, the final drawing. Like I said, this is definitely my favorite piece by far, and I'm glad that during the speed paint I actually got to go a bit in depth about my process, as there was no time to do that in the previous drawings. Oh my god guys, we are so close to the end. This is the final drawing of this video. They've still got a whole other month of prompts, but anyways, this is for the prompt flower, and I decided to go with the water lily theme since, you know, mermaids, waters, flowers. Yeah, it made sense in my head. This was another one that was pretty rushed. Most of these are rushed because, well, once again, I have like a day or two to make them. And I must admit, I really love the concept and some aspects of the drawing, but the final thing kind of falls flat for me. I think it's a combination of both the fact that I was rushed, but also I do not know how to draw people from the side view. So I was struggling to figure out how to do that, like at the last minute. Once again, I think the idea is really cute, and honestly, I love the character design and little gold freckles, so that's kind of saving the piece for me, but overall, I feel like I could have done a lot better. And I'm just going through and adding in random colors to the background just to kind of have a swampy-esque effect to it. Yeah, we're pretty much done, so enjoy the last few seconds of the speed paint. You guys have it, the 6 finished pieces. I really wish I could have gotten more depth with each of them, but otherwise this would have been like a 20-minute long video. Anyways, I'd really appreciate it if you guys gave a big thumbs up and subscribe if you aren't already. Let me know what drawings out of the 6 were your favorite, and also give me some name suggestions for all of these characters. If I like any of them, I will mention them in my next video. Anyways, if you liked this video, there is some more right here on the screen that I'm sure you'll like if you enjoyed this one. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to stay weird, and I'll see you guys next time.